Number 1, what is the ratio of squares? Number 1, what is the ratio of squares to circles? So if we count the number of squares, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we get 5 squares to circles, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 circles. And so we have to make sure that we do the ratio with circles in the numerator, the denominator is circles. We could also do 5 to 6 or 5 to 6. Those are the 3 ways that you can write it. Squares to circles, and squares to circles. For number 2, on the class field trip, there were 4 teachers and 35 students. What is the ratio of students to teachers? So in the beginning, it's listing it as 4 teachers and 35 students. But when you write the ratio, you need to pay attention to how the question is asking you to write it. What is the ratio of students to teachers? So it's 35 students to 4 teachers, 35 to 4, 35 to 4. For number 3, which of the following ratios is not equivalent to the other 3? So if we look at B, we get 4/10. We can also convert 2/5 to 4/10 by multiplying it by 2. 2 times 2 is 4, 5 times 2 is 10, a giant 1 of 2. We could simplify 8/20 by dividing them both by a giant 1 of 2's. 8 divided by 2 is 4, 20 divided by 2 is 10. But 10 to 15, if we simplify that, we get 2/3. There's no way we can either multiply or divide by a giant 1 to create 4/10. But all of these we can convert to 4/10, or we can convert them both to 8/20 because they're all equivalent ratios. So D is not equivalent to the other 3. Number 4, an 8-pound bag of apples costs $17.50. What is the unit price? So we want to find the cost for 1 pound, a bag of apples. So we have the cost per pound, and we want it to be 1. And if we do 17.50 divided by 8 to get the unit rate, you get 2.81875, and we want to bring it to the nearest penny. So this is dollars, dimes, pennies. We go to the pennies and go to the right. Since that's 5 or higher, we would round up to 9. So it's $2.19 per pound. Number 5, it took 20 minutes to print out a 250-page report. At this speed, how many pages could this printer produce in 30 minutes? So there's 2 ways we can do this. 1, set it up as a proportional relationship, or 2, find the unit rate. So I'm going to first show setting up as a proportional relationship. So we have 250 pages in 20 minutes. So typically if it's in the same sentence, it's going to be the same ratio. And then at this speed, how many pages? Well, we don't know how many pages the printer could produce in 30 minutes. So now we set it up as equivalent ratios, and we want to find the multiplier. So inverse property of multiplication is division, and if we do 30 divided by 20, you get 1.5. So 1.5 is our multiplier. We can check by putting 20 multiplied by 1.5 in the calculator, you would get 30. So if I multiply the number of minutes by 1.5, the number of pages will be also multiplied by 1.5. So 250 multiplied by 1.5, and that gives us 375. So it would produce 375 pages in 30 minutes. The other way of doing it is to find the unit rate. And so we find out how many pages in 1 minute. So if we divide both of these by 20, a giant one of 20s, 250 divided by 20 is 12.5. 20 divided by 20 is 1. So that gives us 12 and a half pages per minute. So that's for one page, for 1 minute, and we need for 30 minutes. So then we would just do the number of pages per minute, the unit rate, multiplied by 30, which would give us 375. The great thing about finding the unit rate is we could quickly find out for any number of pages very quickly. If I wanted to do 50 pages, just multiply by 12.5. Number 6, Dana measured the height of her bedroom wall to be 3 yards tall. Which of these is the closest to the equivalent measurement? Well, yards are slightly longer than 1 meter. A meter is approximately 9/10 of a yard. So the closest one would be 3.5 meters. Kilometers are more like closer to miles, and centimeters. This is 100 centimeters is 1 meter. So this is not quite 3 meters. Number 7. Matthias bought a package of 5 notebooks for $13.95. What is the unit rate per notebook? So we need to pay attention to how the ratio is going to be set up by how the question presents it, not in the up here in the passage where it says 5 notebooks for $13.95. We want to write it as the unit price per notebook. So price per number of notebooks. And so the price is $13.95 per 5 notebooks. And so if we divide $13.95 divided by 5, we get $2.79 per notebook. Solving it by dividing it by the giant 1 of 5s to get the number of notebooks to 1, because 5 divided by 5 is 1 notebook. And the cost divided by 5, $2.79 per 1 notebook. Number 8, which of the following ratios is equivalent to 8:3? So these are the 3 ways you can write 8:3, 8:3, and 8:3. And so this is 3/8. That's the reciprocal of 8:3. So that's a no. 24/9 is equivalent, because if we divide it by a giant 1 of 3s, 24 divided by 3 is 8. 9 divided by 3 is 3, and we get 8:3. And C is also equivalent, because we can divide 16 to 6 by a giant 1 of 2s. 16 divided by 2 is 8. 6 divided by 2 is 3. Number 9. Trudy is making punch by mixing 1 can of concentrated juice with 3 cans of water. Which of the following combinations shows the same ratio of juice to water? So we have the ratio of juice, 1 can, water, 3 cans. So here I wrote down equivalent ratios. 1/3, 2/6, 3/9. Multiplying 1/3 by 1 times 2 is 2, 2 times 3 is 6, or for 3/9, 1 times 3 is 3, 3 times 3 is 9, and I can continue. 1 times 4 is 4, 3 times 4 is 12, and so forth. In this one, we have a ratio of 2 to 4. That is not an equivalent. That's 1/2. 2 to 6, well, we said that is an equivalent ratio. 3 to 9, also an equivalent ratio. 3 to 6. 3 to 6 would simplify to 1/2, not 1/3. So that's no. Number 10. The table shows how much money 3 employees are paid per per hour of work. So if we look at the table here, Kyle works, his hourly rate's $35 per hour, Sydney's $40 per hour, and Patricia's $55 per hour. Suppose each employee works 30 hours next week. How much more than Sydney will Patricia be paid? So we'll find out for Sydney, if she works 30 hours and she makes $40 an hour, that comes to $1,200. Patricia makes $55 per hour, and if she works 30 hours, that works out to $1,650. And now we have to find out, well, how much more will Patricia make than Sydney? So the difference between the two, which is $450. Number 11, a carpenter worked for 4 days to finish a repair job. She charged $825 for 15 hours, plus $278 for materials. What is the carpenter's rate per hour? So the question is asking us, what is the rate per hour? So we have the rate per hour, and she charges $825 for 15 hours, plus $278. This is a distractor. This is in addition to what she charges for her hourly rate. So we only have to find out what her unit rate is for 1 hour. So we're going to divide by a giant 1 of 15s because we want the number of hours to be 1. And 15 divided by 15 is 1. 825 divided by 15 is 55. So we just found the unit rate for the cost per 1 hour. So the carpenter's rate is $55 per hour. The graph below shows the rate of speed of a group of hikers. So on the x-axis we have time, on the y-axis we have distance. And the question is, which of the following is an ordered pair on the graph? Select yes or no. So remember that ordered pairs are written as x and y. So x comma y. 2 on the x, 10 on the y. So if we look at the scale, the x-axis is going by 1, so 2 on the x, 1, 2, and then 10 on the y. The y scale, the y-axis is going by 5s, 5, 10, 15, 20, and so forth. So 2 on the x, 10 on the y. That is an ordered pair on the graph. 3, 20. 3 on the x, 1, 2, 3, and 20 on the y. 5, 10, 15, 20. You can see that that point is not on the graph. Number 4, for C, 4 on the x, 25 on the y. 1, 2, 3, 4 on the x, and then 25 on the y. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. There's 25. This ordered pair is also not on the graph. And the last one, D, 8 on the x, 40 on the y. Here's 8 on the x, and we go up to 40 on the y, and that is on the graph. Number 13, the table shows the cost of renting a sailboat at a lake. And it says, which of the following represents the cost? Well, let's go ahead and find the unit rate first, the cost for 1 hour. So if I have the cost per hour, and I take 300 per 2 hours, to find the unit rate, I divide by a giant 1 of 2 because I want the denominator to equal 1. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 300 divided by 2 is 150. So the cost per hour is $150. Now if I take that information and it says here the number of hours multiplied by 15, well no, it's not $15 per hour. The number of hours multiplied by 150, that's what we got for the unit rate. And we can check just to make sure, because if we do 2 hours, 2 multiplied by 150 is 300. If we check for 3 hours, 3 multiplied by 150 is 450. So that works, and it will work for the rest of the table as well. The scale on the map shows that 1.5 centimeters represents 200 kilometers. On the map, the two cities are 6 centimeters apart. What is the actual distance between these two cities? So we have centimeters to kilometers, and 1.5 centimeters represents 200 kilometers. And then it says on the map the two cities are 6 centimeters apart, and we want to find out the actual distance. So I wanted to find the multiplier, and I have here 4 because I know that if I'm multiplying, this is going from a smaller value to a greater value, the inverse property multiplication is division. So I'm going to do 6 divided by 1.5. And here I have 6 divided by 1.5, which ends up giving me 4. So now I have the multiplier as 4. So if I multiply the number of centimeters by 4, the number of kilometers are going to be also multiplied by 4. So I do 200 kilometers multiplied by 4, which equals 800. So D, the actual distance, is 800 kilometers. Number 16. The 6th grade is charging $9 per card to wash cars. The 5th grade is charging $8.50 per car. Suppose each grade washes 50 cars. How much more money will the 6th grade earn? So we know that both of them are going to be washing 50 cars, and 6th grade charges $9 per car, and 5th grade charges $8.50 per car. So I'm going to multiply these two. 9 multiplied by 50 is $450. 5th grade charged $8.50. So we're going to multiply $8.50 by 50. 5 times 0 is 0. 5 times 5 is 25. Now we're going to go to the second place value, so we need to put a 0 as a placeholder and multiply by 8 times 0 is 0. 8 times 5 is 40. And now we add these two together. 0 plus 0 is 0. 5 plus 0 is 5. 2 plus 0 is 2. And 4. Since we have one decimal place here, we're going to move this decimal place over 1. And so 5th grade made $425, and 6th grade made $450. So to find the difference between the two, we're going to subtract the amount 6th grade made and the amount 5th grade made, which equals $25. So 6th grade will earn $25 more than 5th.